People watching people just like themselves on television has always been a part of the Saturday night experience.
The tradition of now called Real People taking part in television programmes was pioneered by, of course, the Generation Game on BBC television. That's where you get members of the public put into a situation that is a completely false premise, and then you see what comes of it, what sort of real behaviour.
Over 30 years, Real People had brought Saturday night rating success, and the producers could never give them up. So they've thrown them into disastrous situations and watched them struggle to cope. And then watched them watching themselves. And then they've watched them trying to transform themselves into stars. Throughout the 70s, Saturday night talent shows, like New Faces, have proved hugely successful ways of getting cheap entertainment out of real people. The format may seem eerily familiar. Dodgy amateurs against ugly critics.
It's very different. I don't know whether the ethnic groups take the trotter very seriously, but I would think that's the area in which they would work, very underground. A long way.
Right, thank you very much, Johnny.
For years and years and years, they kept at it. Through an endless stream of divas and panel bitches.
If that's a declaration of love, I mean, I don't see why it has to sound like a suicide note. You don't have to be desperate.
But by 1988, the public had tired of the New Faces format. The talent show on ITV was dead and buried. Well, for a decade at least, anyway. In 1999, the talent show found a new champion. A one-time choreographer on Seaside Special, Nigel Lithgow had risen through the ranks to become controller of entertainment at LWT.
I went to see my son in Australia, and his show that he'd been working on was on television, Pop Stars. We watched it and thought, well, this is, you know, more just auditions. Come on down and do what you gotta do. And it was fascinating, and suddenly went into sort of character development.
Overall, the problem that we do have is with your movement.
And it was just out-and-out entertainment. And it was, I guess, the first time reality and entertainment had come together.
Lithgow brought the format back in his suitcase, and in January 2001, the talent show was raised from the dead.
From a series of open auditions, Pop Stars will bring together 5 undiscovered talents to create a new and exciting band. And from first auditions through to the release of their single, the cameras will follow them every step of the way.
You've got to all stick together, good friends, there for each other.
Pop Stars was the genre-breaking show that modernised the talent show, where for the first time you drew the camera back and saw the audition process, which has always happened. You always had people in a room saying, "You're rubbish." It's just the first time we actually showed it.
Will you lie to me, and I'll be a baby.
Thank you very much.
Like the previous talent shows, Pop Stars needed its own bad boy.
Good performance. And I'm sure the tune was in there somewhere.
I felt that grandmothers and mothers and people of all ages would be emotionally hooked by the drama of what was happening, because it was just such a roller coaster ride watching these kids be told you're in, you're out, you're rubbish, you're going down from 10 to 5 to this to that. It was so fantastic to watch.
'Cause I have been told that salvation lets their wings unfold.
The funny thing is that until Pop Stars, you couldn't get arrested with a talent show.
You've got me.
What Pop Stars so brilliantly did was to learn how interested the public was in seeing themselves reflected in pressure situations.
Oh, God.
And elongated across ever more 17, 20 weeks.
And I'm afraid you didn't make it through. We just didn't think your singing was up to it.
Of drama and tension and tears.
I felt that I was better than other people that gets called back.
And joy, and the dramatic arc is very clear and very strong.
After averaging 9 million viewers every week, the eventual winners were guaranteed a #1 hit.
You've been singing, I'm driving you crazy.
which they duly delivered. But the problem was that the public were much more interested in the process of making the product than in the product itself. The public didn't really like Hearsay, and they had the shelf life of a raindrop. Pop stars had forgotten one very important fact. The public now liked to vote in their talent shows. When Opportunity Knocks had been relaunched for BBC One Saturday Night in the late 80s, they were evidently struggling for quality acts. The public came flocking anyway when, for the first time ever, telephone voting was introduced.
You have the last word. Each week you choose the champ, you name the number one. Picking that winner is as easy as picking up a phone.
The show proved remarkably successful, even though it never created any superstars. Now, in the 21st century, the public knew exactly how number one pop stars were created, and they wanted a piece of the action. They didn't have long to wait.
After pop stars, people say, oh, I would never have chosen that band, and I wouldn't have chosen that person in Hearsay, I wouldn't have chosen that person in Hearsay. So it was like, well, don't. It's up to you this time. Pick who you like.
Like pop stars, Pop Idol began with a ritual audition humiliation process.
We've got stars direct in our face.
Tell me the only pop you can do is pop off.
However, once the thousands had been whittled down to 50, the audience was handed the power to decide their future. Pop Idol was ITV's highest-rating Saturday night programme of 2002, and the live final was watched by 13.3 million viewers. The talent show had never been more popular.
Pop Idol for me is a programme that glues the family together. The whole family can come together, they can actually support one or the other. And when I was growing up as a kid, it was soccer. And we used to argue every Saturday night about games. And the same thing happens now with Pop Idol. Families will support different people.
It has, crucially, a great sense of audience participation. You decide who's going to be famous. You decide who's going to be rich. You decide who's going to have a career. And that's obviously very appealing.
We don't even want television shows now where the people, the panel, the punters, the talking heads, their opinion is final. We, the public, want to have our opinions be final. And of course, the television companies are lapping it up with their big, fat, greedy tongue because there's money to be made out of it as well on the back of the telephone revenue.
The winner of Pop Idol 2002 is Will!
Voting Will Young as the nation's pop idol cost the public nearly £1 million in phone calls in a single night. But did their decision really have much to do with his musical ability? Over the preceding week, Will and Gareth had been put on constant public display. Was Will the best crooner, or just the nicest guy? The Saturday night mass audience was finally getting a taste of a new TV concept. Reality had arrived. 2 years previously, Channel 4 had staged the first big reality show. In Big Brother, the public got to see every single detail of the contestants' lives as they lived it, trapped in a house for 9 weeks. It was the ultimate popularity contest, and although it ran every night of the week, it radically altered the very nature of Saturday night television.
I remember Billy Connolly saying, how ridiculous. We're sitting on sofas, watching people sitting on sofas. But it's fascinating.
Just watching people is a very compelling thing to do on television. Ordinary people know how to be surprised, upset, emotionally moved, laugh. They can do that stuff. People will give you big reactions.
Ask me up, woman.
God!
I suppose reality TV, what it's done is kind of make every night almost Saturday night TV for 2 weeks. That's what happens now. We don't have Saturday night where everybody sits around the TV. We have shows like I'm a Celebrity where for 2 weeks everybody sits around the TV. That's where ratings are now, in watching something that becomes fascinating because it's almost kind of like Lord of the Flies.
The tabloid press hungrily devoured every tidbit of reality television and gave ordinary people the star treatment. It didn't go unnoticed.
Oh, well, that must have been very interesting for the Vera.
Les Dennis had been a Saturday night fixture since 1980, first as a comedy impressionist, then as a massively successful game show host. He attracted millions more viewers than Big Brother ever could. But when, after 15 years, ITV decided they no longer wanted Les Dennis's family fortunes on Saturday nights, he was lost. Through Big Brother, however, Les could see a way back.
You've just got to accept that the business changes. There's no point being bitter about business changing. There's no point saying everything's bloody reality, that's all that's on TV. I mean, I had the point where I said, if you can't beat them, join them, and I went into Big Brother.
Les joined 5 other semi-celebs in the Big Brother house for a non-stop 10-day stay in the public spotlight.
A lot of celebs, when they go into something like that, say, I'm doing it for charity. Yes, you know that you're going to raise money for charity, but you've got to be really honest and say to yourself, no, I'm doing it to raise my profile, or change your profile, as it did with me. You know, it's a chance to remind people of that you're there.
10 days on a never-ending Saturday night did indeed bring Les back into the headlines. While he was in the house, his marriage was falling apart. The public was no longer interested in Les's talent. It was interested in his pain.
Just one egg. That's all. Between the lot of you, all we need is just one, just to see what it's like to collect an egg.
You know what? I was playing that a bit. I was trying to do some shtick. I was trying to do some comedy shtick with the chickens. I probably just got a bit too carried away. But it's what happens now. It's the currency. Celebrity is the currency. And it means that even though I haven't necessarily been on telly in the last 2 or 3 years a lot, at least I'm still there and gives me a fighting chance of getting something and coming back and having some kind of revival or renaissance.
It's all fun, man. It's only fun. Don't take it
Celebrity Big Brother marked the end of an era for the Saturday night star. The public had finally turned the tables and made the celebrity jump through the hoops. Now ITV launched a prime-time Saturday night show encompassing every element of the new reality world. Launched in June last year, it aimed to give the public power, entertainment, quick results and a big star presenter in Brian Conley. Surely this was the new saviour of Saturday night.
Essentially, Judgment Day, a bit like Big Brother, but done in an hour, was a popularity contest.
Audience, if you don't like the way they look, it's time to tell them to sling their hook.
What it involved was 5 or 6 people revealing more and more about themselves during the show, and the audience voting live for them to leave the show, so you end up with one winner.
You've said hello, and I'm very sorry you got to wave goodbye.
The format was a disaster and gave ITV one of its most unpopular Saturday nights ever. Only 3.3 million tuned in to the first show. The public had effectively sealed its fate. After only 2 broadcast shows, ITV dramatically pulled Judgment Day off the air.
Oh, I was gutted. I really was, because I didn't think it was a bad show. I'd love you to play that. I don't know if you can. The very first ep, there's this black lady.
I've been round your ass!
And she absolutely freaked out.
This is your... Come and sit down, Nina! Hold on, press pause.
You know, I mean, I would love you to play that. And to pitch it at 7 o'clock, I think that's the funniest you can get.
I'm going to go to my bedroom.
Yes, I am. Get off, Nina! I'm famous. Sit down, carry on.
Tim Henman ruined Judgment Day.
I'm going to go to my bedroom.
Yes,
Gay. Because his match overrun.
So this is your bedroom, Nina.
And it's upsetting because people remember that. Oh, that's the show they pulled. Oh, yes, it was Tim Henman on the other side. It weren't my fault. What's up with you? You know.
It didn't match my eyes, that.
There is no doubt that we are missing out on some very big hits on British television in the future by the habit we have today of pulling shows after 3 weeks if they're not getting enough ratings. And the commercial pressures on the commercial channels are so strong that maybe they have no option but to pull the shows. But the result of it is that we're not growing shows in the way we used to. And that's a great pity.
Ultimately, ITV is a commercial channel and it has to make commercial decisions. It is tough, and it's a decision it's a horrible decision to make, and it's not one that I think anyone enjoys making. So I have sympathy for the shows that get pulled. You know, it hurts.
I think where it goes now, it starts to get a bit scary now. They're very much focusing on how many people are watching these things.
First monitoring system in Britain was a clock that sat on top of a set.
And it's the advertisers. They have a very big say in it now.
Then came an electronic clock that didn't need winding up.
There is a tyranny in the ratings system. Years ago, we used to have to wait 2 weeks.
The new model uses microchips, so the information can be collected electronically.
And so you couldn't take instant decisions.
It's now possible to produce full national ratings overnight.
Even at the weekend, on a Sunday, you know how well a Saturday show did. And that does put immense pressure on schedulers and channel controllers.
Clearly the arrival of audience figures the night after the show has gone out has had an impact. You might be inclined to give it less time if the failure is staring you in the face the day after the show.
The most anxious moment for the country's television executives, the arrival of the viewing figures.
What amazes me is that all these figures and everything else are all to do with 200 black boxes.
AGB calculate their figures using returns in 3,500 homes across Britain.
How do they get a cross-section of the country with 200 black boxes? I'm living in the 21st century. We should know how many people watch these shows. I want to know exactly. If my career's on the line, I want to know exactly, not by a cross-section of 200 black boxes.
Coming up, Saturday night television tries to battle technology to save its own future.